Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jared and this is part 2 of a 2-part series. So if you've just landed here in the hopes to learn some Terraform, go back to the first episode, watch that one, then come back here. In this video, we're going to follow on from what we did in the first video. We're going to configure the requirements we need for the Azure VM and we're going to get it deployed. So let's get started. So let's go back to the Terraform webpage. We are going to get the information we need for a public IP. So again, let's go on the left, search for public IP. We're going to select this one, the Azure RM public IP. And move down and we're just gonna, let's just copy this whole thing here. Let's copy that. Go back to our code, we'll create a new comment. Create a new public IP address, we'll paste that in. We're going to change the name again. We're going to call this tf-pip. The name we want to create, the public IP that we want to create in Azure, I'm going to call this tf-vm-pip. The resource group is going to be the resource group we created, so that is tf-rg. The location again is going to be tf-rg, and the allocation method, I'm just going to change this to dynamic. Tags I don't really care about at the moment, so I'm just going to delete them. Okay, so we have the public IP. Let's go and get the code we need for the NSG, network security group, this one here. So let's go down and copy I'm just going to copy this first bit. Copy that. I am going to create the rules separately in a separate block. I'm going to go back to Visual Studio Code, create a new comment, create a new NSG, and I'm going to paste that in. The NSG name is going to be tf-nsg. I'm going to change the name of the NSG in Azure. We are going to call that tf-vm-nsg. Location is going to be tf-rg. Location, so it's going to be UK South. The resource group name is also going to be tf-rg. And we just need to close those brackets as well. Okay, before we go any further, let's just save what we've done so far. And let's just run a Terraform validate. So for me, it's found an error on, you can see here, line 30. So if I go up to line 30, it's looking like this allocation method is wrong. I'm not sure why, maybe that needs to be capital D. Let's just save that and see if that makes a difference. Okay, so as you can see, it is quite easy to sort of to miss out on certain bits. So it's important to kind of run validate throughout your code. We now have the resource group, we have the virtual network, we've created a subnet, there's a new public IP, an NSG. The next stage is we will create the NSG rules. But before we do that, as part of the rules, I want to lock down RDP access so only my public IP can access that VM. So there is a piece of code that I found online. What this does is this will reach out to this website and this will actually find your public IP and then it will give it this label. So it's going to be called my_public IP. I can then use this as part of my NSG rule. Let's go and get the NSG rules. The Azure RM network security rule. So let's go down. What we're going to do is we're going to copy this bit here at the bottom. Copy that and let's go back and we will give this a new comment, create a new rule, NSG above, lockdown to my public IP. Okay, let's paste that. We're going to call this tf-nsg-rule. We're going to name this VM RDP. It's going to priority is 100. The direction is going to be inbound. It's going to be allow. It's going to be TCP. The source port can be any. The destination port is going to be 3389 for remote desktop. Source address we will come back to. Destination address can be any. Resource group, we need to change this, so it's tf-rg. within our resource group. The NSG we want to apply this to is going to be tf-vm-nsg. Let me just confirm that was what we called that. No, I called this tf-nsg. For the source address, this is what we need to change. We need to add this public IP into this source port, so it only allows us to RDP into that VM. So let me just paste in the code that we need. So I'm going to paste it here and delete that second one. By the way, I'm going to put all this code up in GitHub, and I'll put the link in the description down below. So if you want to see this, you want to copy and paste the entire thing, you can. I suggest you don't. I suggest you go out to Terraform and you actually take each section and you write this up yourself if you want to learn. Okay, so let's just save this. We will do another Terraform validate. Okay, so we need to run Terraform init again. So this will initialize any new requirements. It's probably because I used this this piece of code to find the public IP. Perfect, okay. So the next one we are going to create is we're going to create the network interface for the VM itself. So let's just go back to the documentation and get that code. Let's search for network and see if we can get the code we need for a network interface. Which one is it? Network interface, this one. We already have a virtual network, we have a subnet. So it looks like this is the one we need. Okay, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to paste that. Network interface is going to be tf-vm-nic. It's going to be the same here. tf-vm-nic. The location is going to be in the tf-rg resource group. The resource group is also going to be tf-rg for the resource group we created. The name internal is fine. The subnet that we created earlier was called tf-snet, and the private IP address allocation is dynamic. And because we have already created the public IP, we need to also assign that public IP address to this NIC. So to do that, just type in public_IP_ID equals, I'm going to put $, and then we're going to go Azure rm_public IP dot, and then we're going to take the name of the public IP that we created earlier, so it's tf-pip.id. So the last thing we need to do just before we create the VM is to associate the NSG that we've created to the network interface. So to do that, we just go to network interface. So you should see Azure RM network interface security group association. So this is one we need. So let's browse down until we can see this bit at the bottom. So let's just copy that. So let's just create a new comment, assign NSG to NIC. I'm going to paste that. So we're going to do tf nsg-nic. The network interface ID was called tf-nic. The NSG, it was called tf-nsg. So let's just double check that. So the network interface was called, so this was called tf-vm-nic, and the network security group was called tf-nsg. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's just save that and run another validate. Okay, so it's found an issue on my code on line 74. So if I go back up here, you can see, so it's found the issue here. And it's literally told me where the problem is. So the problem is this bit here. This should be a dash and not a dot. So let me save that and we will run validate again. Okay, before we move forward, let's just go back and we will double check all our code again. If we start from the top, we're creating the resource group. We are going to create the virtual network. That's the address space. Then we're going to create the subnet with this address prefixes within. So this will be the subnet address. We're going to create a new public IP address. We are creating a new NSG. We want to find the public IP for my internet. That's local to my home. Then we're going to create an NSG rule and add that into the rule. And then we're going to create a network interface. We're going to assign the public IP address to this as well. And then we're going to assign the NSG to the network interface that we've created. The last thing we need to do is to create the new VM. Let's go grab the code for that. Go back here, we're going to search for compute. We're going to create a new Windows VM. So let's just create a new Azure Windows virtual machine. So move down. So I'm just going to copy this entire thing here. So all the way to the bottom, I'm going to copy that. And we're going to go back to this page and I'm going to create a new comment. So create a new VM. I'm going to paste this in. We're just going to call this tf-vm. The name in Azure is going to be the same. Resource group is tf-rg. Same again for the location. This is fine, password's fine. The network interface was called tf-nic. Let me just double check. I think it was vmnic, it was tf-vm-nic. OS is fine. I'm probably going to choose Windows Server 2022. Before we move on, I'm going to create another piece of code. This one is just to output the public IP address of the VM that we're going to create. This will just tell us what the IP address is in the terminal. It just saves you having to log into the Azure portal every time you run this script to find out what the IP is. So let's just do that. So let's create a comment. So it's output the public the VM, and the config is output Azure rm underscore public underscore IP, and then its value equals Azure rm underscore public IP dot tf dash pip dot IP underscore address, and then it's going to close. Okay, let's quickly save, and then we're going to do a Terraform validate. So the next step is to do a Terraform plan. Let's just browse up and just make sure everything looks right. So from here, it says Terraform will perform the following actions. It's going to tell us that it's going to create the network interface, the IP address, the dynamic IP for the private, the public IP address, be known after we apply, the NSG, the subnet, the virtual network, the VM. So it has everything there. Okay, let's just deploy it. Auto approve. Okay, so the plan is 8 to add, 0 to change, and 0 to destroy. Okay, so the deployment has finished finally. It took ages. Let's just check the Azure portal and see if see if everything is deployed. So I can see the VM, the NIC, the NSG, public IP. Let's just go into the VM and we'll check that the NSG has been created and the rule has been created and that it has been applied to the VM. So we can see, let's grab this public IP. Let's copy that and then let's go into networking. we can see the NSG has been applied, and you can see rule 100, which is port 389, and this source IP, so that is my IP. Let's just try and connect it now. Paste it in. Perfect. Yes. pf-vm. Okay, so the good news, that has all worked. The next step you need to do, and don't forget this bit because this is the most important bit, is Terraform destroy. This will actually remove all of the items that you've created in Azure. That way you won't be just overcharged if you leave them there and turned on. So do this. That will then run through the destroy and then just remove everything you've created. So that is it. I hope you have enjoyed both videos, and hopefully you've learned a little bit more about Terraform. It is really easy to pull the code together to build out whatever infrastructure you need, so continue to do that. Go back to the documentation and deploy resources even across multiple cloud platforms. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comment box below. If you enjoyed the video, you liked the video and you've learned something, then please consider subscribing, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.